Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Red Dead Weapons. Today we're going to be doing a pistol that was made in Germany by a very well-known individual, Paul Mauser, and his co-designer, the Federal brothers, Fidel, Friedrich, and Joseph. Now, this gun, it's the Mauser C96, the C96 broom handle. Anyway, to start this episode off, this gun is a very well-known and popular weapon. In Red Dead 1, it actually is fully automatic, which is kind of anachronistic to the period, mainly because the one in Red Dead 1 is the model 712 Schnellfeuer, wherever the fuck you say it right. But that's a later model. That was in the full auto variant. It was later on in the life cycle. Now this gun was manufactured from 1896 all the way up to 1961, and its original place of origin is the German Empire, better known as the country of Germany today. This gun was featured predominantly in the Spanish-American War, the Jungle Movement of Guilan, the Second Boer War, the Boxer Rebellion, the Xinhai Revolution, World War I, German Revolution, Irish War of Independence, the Irish Civil War, which had pro-treaty, anti-treaty fighters fighting against each other, and it's a very touchy subject. Another video for another day. This gun was also in the Finnish Civil War, the Mexican Revolution, Russian Civil War, Easter Rising, Polish-Soviet War, the Chaco War, the Spanish Civil War, the Second Sino-Japanese War, World War II, Chinese Civil War, the First Indochina War, the Malayan Emergency, pretty much to kick the communists out of Malaysia by the British, and the Korean and Vietnamese Wars. Now, this gun was produced in Germany by Mauser. The Taiyuan Arsenal in China, Haiyang Arsenal in China, those are Chinese copycats and North Korean copycats, and they're kind of a mystery, really. And they were also produced in Vestugi, Hermanos, and Astra Uncita y CSA in Spain. This gun was produced from 1896 to 1937, and the weapon was in service from 1896 to 1961. A correction on my previous statement. There was a little bit over 1 million of these produced. There's a full-size model, a Bolo model, which is a short barrel, small grip, a Red 9, a 9mm chambering of this weapon, and the M712 Schnellfeuer, which is fully automatic and which featured predominantly in Red Dead 1. Now, for those of you wondering about the Red Dead 1 version, that is not accurate time period, and if they decided to bring back that Red Dead 1 version to online, or for Red Dead 2, and make that gun fully automatic, that would be OP as a motherfucker. Anyway, this gun weighed about 2 pounds, 8 ounces, or 1.13 kilograms. Its total length pre-Bolo version was 12 inches, and with the Bolo barrel, it is 10.7 inches, or 271 millimeters, and the pre-Bolo is 312 millimeters. I love that water. The overall barrel length is 5.5 inches on the pre-Bolo models, and on the Bolo models it is 3.9 inches. This gun was available in a variety of cartridges. 7.65 by 21 Parabellum is one of the more rare ones. China used a 45 ACP. There was 9mm Mauser export, which is also incredibly rare. Experimental 8.15mm Mauser, and 8mm Gasser, and the main chamber of 7.63 by 25mm Mauser. On the full auto version, this gun could fire up to 1,000 rounds a minute, and what had a short recoil action. To load this gun, you utilized stripper clips, which was a major thing, because you couldn't really get the magazine, and the first magazine semi-automatic pistol pretty much is the Brochart and the Bergman. Pretty much the Bergman is in the Mandalorian, which is used by the fucking bounty hunter dude, whatever the fuck his name is. This weapon has a maximum effective range of up to 220 yards or 200 meters. Has a internal 10-round magazine fitted by strip clip, as I said, and it could hold up to 10 or 20 detachable Bach magazines on the full auto version, And he also had detachable magazine variants of this, so yeah. There's also a 40-round mag for this, but it was a prototype for the M1917 Trench Carbine, and the sights are a V-notch rear tangent sight that is adjustable up to 1,100 yards, and it has an inverted V front sight. Distinct characteristics of this weapon is the box magazine on it. I'm using Midnight's pistol as an example because Lily Midnight in games actually real name is in German, and he went back to his German heritage with the design of this gun. The distinct characteristics, like I said, are the integral box magazine in front of the trigger and the wooden shoulder stock, which also doubled as a holster. The gun earned the nickname Broom Handle because in the English-speaking world it looked like the round wooden handle of a broom, and in China the C96 was named the box cannon because of the magazine and because it could be holstered in a wooden box like detachable stock, which came with the gun when you bought them. Now, in terms of time period, would this gun be common? Yes. Spanish-American War just ended, and U.S. soldiers probably would have captured some of these as war trophies. Yes, we used to be able to take war trophies, like AK-47s and fucking bazookas, and Arisakas, which U.S. infantrymen would chop down and sporterize the fuck out of. I mean, shit, I have a great uncle who brought back 4 AKs from Vietnam. Fucking damn. Fucking hell. Why can't we do that anymore? Oh wait, our country is a bunch of fucking pussies. But anyway, this gun, with its long barrel and high velocity cartridge, it had superior range and better penetration than most pistols of the era, so it would beat out most pistols. A 7.63 25 Mauser was the highest velocity commercially manufactured pistol cartridge until the event of the 357 Magnum in 1935. Approximately 1 million of these were produced, and there are an unknown number in China and Spain that were produced, but are non-existent on the terms of numbers because of poor production record preservation in those countries. Now, the Red 9 Mauser is the one that came with the magazine, and that doubled as a holster. Now, this gun was actually, fun fact, this gun is actually very popular in Britain, and it was mainly used by British officers, and mainly because it was a private purchase that they were able to afford. And Mauser supplied these C96s to Wesley Richards in the UK for resale. By onset of World War I, however, the C96 popularity with the British military had waned, and all of that. Though this gun was also very famously used by Winston Churchill himself in the Second Boer War in Africa, which is a war that had a lot of horrible atrocities committed on the Boer people. This gun also saw service in a lot of various colonial wars, like I said, mainly like World War I and the Easter Uprising, where the 16 men got shot down, like James Connolly, some other guys, and led to outrage in Ireland because Easter Uprising, the people who wanted to do it wanted a free united Ireland away from British rule, and the whole World War I was going on. Well, the British fucked up with that by executing leaders there, and that eventually led to the IRA and all that jazz, and then we got the Troubles and all that shit in that country, which honestly was a god-awful, horrendous fucking war. It was not a war of British fucking ridicule, but a war that no one really fucking won, just led to a bunch of fucking hurting. But I'm not gonna go on to the fucking IRA troubles and UDLA and all that shit, because that's just some personal shit I don't want to get into, because I'm fucking going to do it. Now, Civil War, actually, is going back to our Civil War, though. This gun's called Peter the Painter, because the grip also kind of looks like a paintbrush to an extent. The gun, when emptied, will blow back completely on the toggle here, and the hammer will be held back, and you will insert a 10-round stripper clip. That is historically accurate. So, the Bolsheviks used these in the Russian Civil War. Communist revolutionists Yakov Yurovsky and Peter Markov used Mausers to execute the former royal Russian imperial family in July 1918. Churchill was fond of the Mauser, as I said. He used one at the Battle of Omdurman and during the Second Boer War. Lawrence Arabia also famously carried a model of this. during time in the Middle East. Indian revolutionary Ram Prasad Bismil and his party men used Mausers in the historic Kakalri train robbery in August 1925. And the Communist Chinese General Zhu Di carried a Mauser C96 during his Nanchang uprising and later conflicts. His gun actually had his name printed on it and can be viewed at the Beijing War Museum. 3 Mauser 96 was also famously used in the killing of the Spanish Prime Minister Eduardo Dato in 1921, and one of these was also used to kill the leader of Yugoslavia, the King Alexander I of Yugoslavia in 1934. Imported and domestic copies of these guns were used extensively by the Chinese in the Second Sino-Japanese War. This is going to be a very long video, folks, so you may want to buckle in. However, besides the standard 7.63 cartridge in game, the gun was also 9x19 parabellum, as I said, all that jazz, and some other rare cartridges. Now, the ballistics on this gun are really good. Overall, they're still popular for like collectors and shit. I mean, they're fun to shoot. Personally, I'll take a Mauser, not a Mauser, but I'll take a Luger over a Mauser, mainly because of the internal magazine and all that. The last of these to be produced were in the 1940s by the Germans. The Germans still kept manufacturing these for a while, but they were common still up in World War II Germany and all that. And these 9x25 Mauser export cartridges are on par with the ballistics of a 357 Magnum. Though the rare cartridge in the Mauser C96 in game, which was later produced in like the early 30s, late 40s up to the 60s, was the Chinese model, which they decided to utilize 45 ACP because China used it as its main sidearm in military service and police. There are several contract variants of this. There's 1897 Turkish Army Mauser. These guns, there were about 1,000 ordered, and they range in serial numbers from 1 to 1,000, and they differ in that they use the non-Arabic number system on the tangent site, and the weapon is designated with the number system of the Islamic calendar year 1314 rather than the Gregorian calendar of that year. These guns also had a 6-point star on both sides of the chamber and a crest of the Sultan Abu Hamid II, a trophy across flags, various poems, and all that jazz. And the Muslim year on the square left rear frame panel. The Italian Navy Mauser was ordered by the Italian Royal Navy, and there's about 5,000 of these produced. These guns were slab-sided, i.e. lacking the milling on the sides found on commercial Mausers. These guns also had a ring hammer, spurless hammer, which pretty much has a hole through its head, instead of the normal one, which was coned, which you can see here. Oh shit, hang on. As you can see, that's a cone. Looks like a cone, kind of, because of the hole and everything. That's a cone hammer. Pretty much the cone hammers are spurless hammers with wood cone-like projections on the side of its head. These guns were made up to 5,000. There was also 1910 Persian contract Mausers. They were used by the Persian government's line and sun insignia on the rectangular milled panel on the left side, and produced from 154,000 to 154,909. And were often confused with the Turkish contract Mausers. And during World War I, Austria ordered these for production in a 8mm gasser, but that was for a unknown reason, ordered 50,000 in total. Now, I want to showcase something here with the stripper clip. You can see that it's slightly bent. Well, actually, no, is it bent? Huh, I don't think it's bent. That's a little screw up there on Rockstar's part. Is it bent? No, it's not bent. Yeah, actually, I just noticed something here with the loading clip for this stripper clip. It's supposed to have a slight bend into it because the magazine is slightly bent. And it's common. I don't know if this is a double stack magazine or a single stack magazine. But if I'm assuming, because it's an internal magazine, I'm probably going to assume it's double stack. So they kind of fucked up with the stripper clip there. Yeah. Anyway, we were on the Persian Model 9, which was used by the Imperial German Army, and we're in rechambered to 9mm parabellum. And that was just to offset the production of the Luger P08. though the 9mm versions are delegated to the branding unit of the Army armors at the time. But if you want to tell the difference on those, it's mainly the sights. It's a 9mm rated sights, marked 50 meters to 500 meters, rather than the 7.63 rated sights. The French police had a 1920 contract for 2,000 pistols by the Gendarmerie Nationale, and the pistols had black ebonite grips rather than wooden ones. And in World War II, the Luftwaffe, the Nazis' Air Force, not to be confused with the Wehrmacht, well, same sort of, just different branches. The German government purchased 7,800 of these as commercial M30 pistols in 1940 for use by their Air Force, the Luftwaffe, and they also had Wehrmacht proof marks on them, and the serial numbers on those come from the early to mid-1930s, and the weapon has ceased production in 1937, but the order was filled from Iranian stock, and these were likely purchased by the High Commander of the Armed Forces and issued mainly to motorcycle and flag crews of the Luftwaffe. The major variants, though, are the 1886 Cavalier Carbine. Pretty much, there's like a cavalry carbine, which had 16-inch barrels or longer, and they were sold in the U.S. There was also the compact Mauser with a 4.7-inch barrel and 6-shot internal magazine and a full-size group, but those were phased out in 1899. The officer model had a hard rubber grip or curved wooden grip, like that of the Reich revolver. The name comes from the U.S. Army designation of the Mausers pistol sent to participate in their self-loading pistol trials, because this gun was going to be adopted by a large number of countries because of its uniqueness and overall improvements in fireability. The pistol carbine has that wooden stock holster you can get for it, and had a slot attached cut into the grip frame. The 1912 export model was an experimental cartridge, but those guns actually eventually became popular as a machine gun caliber in the 30s. The trench carbine was a prototype, really, and it was a 9.9 by 19 parabellum and had a 40-round magazine, and was a cheaper replacement for the expensive Lange Pistol 08 and close quarters compact. However, the Imperial German Army believed it was a cost-effective substitute and was abandoned after a while. The Treaty of Versailles made Mauser rework them and banned the private ownership of a military-issue or military-style weapon in an attempt to recover valuable arms from returned soldiers, and these were all confiscated and pretty much thrown away or whatnot. And because of the Treaty of Versailles pretty much fucking over Germany, not blaming the other countries involved in that war, eventually led to the rise of Nazi Germany and all that. But I digress. These Versailles Treaty Mauser C96s had their barrels cut down to 3.9 inches, had their 10-inch sights replaced with 6 sights, and had to be converted from 7.63 Mauser to a Luger barrel with 7.65 by 21 parabellum. And these guns were marked 1920 on the barrel and continued as German search pistols even after the ban was ignored and the conversions had stopped. 1921 Bullet Mauser was used in the Soviet Revolution. And the 1930 model is an improvement of the 1921 Mauser, and it had a simplified production and removed the pre-war large grip and long barrel. These ones had a length of 5.2 inches and were made from 1937 up to 1937. These guns also had a little well-known selective fire conversion to it in 1930, but it tended to cook off. Pretty much, it would spontaneously ignite the propellant when the gun got overheated when fired in long bursts, and only about 4,000 of these were made, and they are very popular by collectors. Now, the one from Red Dead 1 is the M712, aka the 1932 model, in the Schnellfeuer. And these guns were made by Spanish manufacturers. Bistugur Hermanos in Australia, beginning in 1927-28, especially in export into the Far East. These guns started production in 1932 and then 1936, and were extremely successful line, and about 100,000 of these were made, and were mainly used in South America and China, or later on the Spanish Civil War from 1932 to 1935. U.S. National Firearms Act of 1903 actually placed a $200 tax on select fire weapons or machine guns. And that eventually led to the exports of these guns to the U.S. impractical because it was roughly the cost of a new car back then. And nowadays, that cost is probably up in the fucking thousands. Maybe even hundreds of thousands, because the U.S. government, if you don't pay them their little fucking fee on a full auto, they're gonna rip you off and cut your balls off and shoot your dog. Fucking cunts. But anyway. And in terms of reproductions, Oyster Bay Industries actually make a antique firearms variant of it and are sold as surplus, and used to sell a detachable magazine kit for the Mauser C96. Kit removed the floor plate, spring, and follower, and added a small magazine catch mechanism that allowed it to be fed properly a magazine brand of 14 rounds 9mm mags and all that. The Brazilian government also had a version of this up to the 1970s. It had it wasn't that common though. Like I said, no copies of the C96 box cannon and the Shinix Type 17 and 45 ACP and the Type 80 in Tokarov. That was also used by China. And you also have the Astra model, which was full auto and had the buttstock. And there's a whole bunch of variants of this. I'm not going to go into all of them. This gun was used by a lot of countries, all the way from Austria-Hungary all the way down to the UK and non-states and non-actors like the Syrian National Coalition, which are a bunch of jihads, and the IRA. Who, well, one group's fucking terrorists, there's other groups freedom fighters in a way, I guess. To put it bluntly, this gun is very popular in pop culture. It was used in the films like The Great Silence, where Jean-Louis Tregonant's use of the C96 intentionally actually contrasts with the more common Colt Sling-Lashy armory used in the movie. And that actually, if you haven't seen the movie The Great Silence, I recommend it. It's a good fucking movie. And Ian Fleming actually outfitted the agents of Smersh in the James Bond series of Mausers on the device of the firearms expert Jeffrey Boothroyd, and also was an inspiration for the Buck Rogers atomic pistol, and was produced by the Daisy Manufacturing Company. And the gun C96 was modified into a blaster pistol for some dude named Han Solo. I don't know who the fuck Han Solo is. I don't know if that's some kind of German thing or whatever. It's whatever. Apparently the cosplay community got a hold of these guns because they were C96s and decided to alter the original Mausers and make blaster replicas. This gun was also in City and Target, Brannigan, and Joe Kidd. And if you want a Seminole pistol, it'd be the Bergmann Bayard pistol, a Seminole German pistol. But that's enough of that. Anyway, this video's gone long enough. In terms of historical usage, yeah, it'd be common. You could export these for like a couple $100 back in the day, like $50, $60. Overmarked like a motherfucker. It will come with a shoulder stock, which also doubles as a holster. In terms of how it's designed, yes, it's historically accurate, though the stripper clip here should have a slight bend to it when loading it. Also, the hammer is it's also correct for the period with the hammer and all that. The sights are correct as well with the tangent sights and all that. Honestly, I'm kind of surprised that they also didn't kind of incorporate. I might actually have to do a video on something. On a side note, though, the U.S. Army soldiers game don't use actually historical accurate rifle, but that's another video. I'll do that later. But anyway, that is C96. In terms of historical accuracy, I'm going to rate it on a scale of 1 to 10. I'd say it's historically accurate on a level 7 scale. Overall, would I use it personally? No, because in terms of the actual in-game holsters you use, this gun would not fit in a conventional holster, and it would be better off if we actually had the buttstock, the carbine extended stock / holster for this thing to use. But anyway, that's it for this episode of Red Dead Weapons. I hope y'all enjoyed. Look out there, and peace.